Hey everybody, it's Mr. Wilson again, here to talk about checkpoint list number 4, which is fill out your biography pre-production sheet. Okay, now your biography pre-production sheet looks like this, and we should have already gone over it in class. At this point, we've already gone over the assignment. So in class, we should have already talked about this. This is really important because this has all of your requirements for this production. It's very complex and it's got a lot of requirements, so you need to make sure you're looking at this and you keep it and refer back to it to make sure you're meeting all of the requirements. And on the back is what you need to fill out. And you can do it longhand, and that's fine, absolutely fine. However, we're trying to, in my class, go a little bit more digital and paperless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do this, but I'm going to do it again digitally. You can do it longhand, write it out. You should have received one of these, and if you do, that's great. But if you don't need it, you can turn it back blank, and I can use it again to save paper. And then you can just email me your digital copy. So right here, we have a copy of the biography video pre-production sheet, and we can get this online. I have it at a website that you can go to and download it. And it's a little bit different only in that back here there aren't lines. There's just spaces for you to fill in. Okay. Now, person of historical significance, that's pretty easy. At this point you should know who you're doing. Garrett Morgan for me. Okay. Now, here's the part where we've talked about you're probably going to have to do a little bit more research. The introduction. Now, you've done some research on your person, but that's not really going to give you a whole lot to work with for your introduction. What was life like before this person came along and did what they did? That's what your introduction is. Remember, read right here, your intro does not mention your historically significant biography subject. So a big problem a lot of students will do is they'll write the person's name in the introduction. If you have it, it's going to be at the very end. Okay, remember there's going to be at least a 20-second minimum introduction. So another common thing that students do is they say, well, my person was born in 1860, so I need to find out what life was like before 1860. No, you don't. What did your person do? My person invented the gas mask in like 1912, I think. And so what was life like before the gas mask came along in 1912? Not before he was born in 1860 or whatever. I'm not sure about the dates. But that's what you need to find out. What was life like before your person did what they did, not before your person was born. All right? So we're going to have to do a little bit more research. So depending on your person, you're going to have to Google search other things. And again, in the Media Center, they don't let you use Google. And that's good because you need to be able to access, if you're media literate, to be able to access other types of academic resources. And in the Media Center, they have databases that we can use as Montgomery County Public School students and staff. But again, realistically, I know a lot of students will use Google. If you can use these databases, absolutely go for it because you know that these databases are going to be giving you reliable information. Okay, that's really important. So if you can use one of the databases and you can go to the IMC and have those the IMC staff help you, that's what you should do. Definitely go for it. You can also access these databases from home, get the password and the login from the people in the Media Center. They've got that information as well. But we're going to use Google, and again, we're going to want to make sure that our sources are reliable. And I know that when Garrett Morgan invented the gas mask, I wanted to use him because he invented the gas mask right before gas was used as a weapon in World War I. And so that made it really important. So what I did is I Googled World War I poison gas first used. That's what I searched, and I got a bunch of different sites, but here's a good site that talks about it was first used by the French, initial German experience, but here's what I'm really looking for. The debut of the first poison gas came on April 22nd, 1915, at the start of the Second Battle of Ypres. I don't know how to pronounce that. Okay, here's good information for me. Also, this website tells me about the effects of poison gas, what happens to the people who were poisoned, what happened to the war because of it. So this is really important information. For my introduction, I'm going to talk about this, World War I and poison gas. Also, he invented the traffic light. So I did some searches on early traffic problems and found this great site. And both of these sites I checked out and I made sure they're reliable. Okay, both of these sites are reliable. You need to know how to do that. Is it a reliable site? So this site talks about the early traffic problems when cars came into being, when there were horse and buggies, and then all of a sudden there were cars, and they were both at the same time. So they talked about police being sent to do traffic control, but that was too costly. They talked about these things, which are called mid-intersection towers, but it got really crazy and there were a lot of accidents. And then Garrett Morgan came up with this traffic signal. So I did some research. I'm not going to take you through all my research, but that's something you're going to have to do for your biography pre-production sheet, for your introduction especially. Now I'm going to fill this out and I will see you in just 1 second. Okay, so I've filled this out and here's my introduction. And remember, it has to be 20 seconds. So one of the things I ask students to do is, what you could do is time your introduction. So I could read it and time it. So I could just go, Germans began using poison gas in World War I on April 22nd, 1915. There was no defense to this new type of attack. The gas caused blindness, blisters, internal bleeding, and death. This was a big problem in the war. Firefighters also have no way of going into flaming buildings without serious risk of smoke inhalation. At the same time, traffic in the early 20th century was a mix of car, horse, and pedestrian. There were many accidents, injuries, and deaths because there was no way to control traffic. These two seemingly separate problems were both solved by one man, Garrett Morgan. There are 33 seconds, and I was reading fairly fast. His name is mentioned at the end, but at the very end is okay, as long as we don't mention it before. 33 seconds, that's pretty good. Now that introduction, by the way, is not written very well. I purposely wrote it not that well. This is a very rough draft. After this, we're going to write a rough draft of our script. So for your pre-production sheet, just get your ideas out. That's what I did here. I just got my ideas out. That's not written very well. It's not horribly written, but it's not really written very well. I could write better a first draft, but I'm trying to give you an idea of just getting it out. Brief biography and major steps to accomplishing task. That's where you're just going to put your notes that you took, or you're going to look at your highlighted articles if you didn't take notes. Notes would probably help you. And then conclusion, you're just going to wrap it up. And so again, what do you think? This is the first draft. Your rough draft of your script is actually going to be your first official rough draft, but this is the first idea. So I just wrote, Morgan helped to solve the problems of poison gas in World War II and traffic problems. How often does one man solve a huge problem faced by society, much less two? Garrett Morgan saved many lives with his two inventions, and for this we thank him. Again, written poorly. I wrote it poorly on purpose so I could make it better later. So, but it's a conclusion, and and it gives me something to work with. Ideas for images, minimum 18, the very first thing, and if you do it digitally, you can just number them. You're not going to have, as a list like this, on the paper, you're not going to have room to have a list that runs down the page, but you need 18. 18 at a minimum. Count them. The first one I put is Morgan. So you can put your person. That's one. You need 17 more. Poison gas attacks, poison gas victims, soldiers from World War I wearing gas masks, other pictures from World War I, traffic from the early 20th century, car buggy accidents from the early 20th century, mid-intersection towers, police directing traffic, sewing machine, because I know he started working with sewing machines, old broken down looking home from when we talk about his beginnings, because he does come from a big family, probably not a lot of money, early traffic signals, modern traffic lights, pictures of Morgan monument statues, etc., early gas mask, modern gas mask, modern traffic, early firefighter with gas mask, modern firefighter with gas mask. That gives me 20 ideas. And now when I go and search for these things, I'm going to get actually many more than just 20 images, because I'm going to be getting lots of pictures for each of these searches that I'm going to do. And I'm probably going to think of some more ideas later also. So this is how you fill out your pre-production sheet, and that's your next step. If you do it digitally, make sure you keep this digital copy. You're going to have to turn it in eventually. So actually scratch what I said about well, you can just print it out, I guess. But make sure you keep this and read your requirements, okay? Make sure this is all filled out. Your introduction doesn't mention the name. You've got a brief biography of the person and the major steps they took to including the task. A brief conclusion. Doesn't have to be that brief. You're going to flesh it out in your rough draft. At least 18 ideas for images. And then you're ready to use this to write your first draft of your script. Alright, which is the next step, and we'll see you for the next tutorial on that. Good luck.